horseman lifted up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain, and a great number of carcasses. There is no end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I am your host, Liam, aka Hembar. Today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Don Bassingthwaite and Dave Gross's Mistress of the Night. Mistress of the Night is a 2004 novel by Don Bassingthwaite and Dave Gross, and it is a Forgotten Realms novel. Particularly, it is part of the Priest series and is number 2. But I will say, if you like the sound of this book, you can start the Forgotten Realms with this book. I know sometimes it gets really intimidating with about 300 novels, and even though this is number 2 in a series, the first one's not related to it. So I will tell you what books these are related to later in the video for those curious, especially big Forgotten Realms fans. But if you do know the Forgotten Realms, you will realize that this title is referring to Shar, the Lady of Loss, or the Mistress of the Night. And so she is a deity of loss, generally considered the twin deity of Saloon, so kind of representing the dark side of the moon there. She likes the pain of losing stuff, essentially. So this one is actually set in Sembia, which is, on the Sea of Fallen Stars there. It's east of Coromir, in the city of Yon, and it is east of Ordolan, which is the capital of Sembia. This is a quarrying city known for its mining. This particularly takes place in Moonshadow Hall, which is a sacred site to Saloon, right? So we have Saloon and Shar competing here, which is pretty typical. When one is present, often the other is present as well. So the story starts with variants, but also with the side character of Dahana, the High Priestess at Moonshadow Hall. Variance is a shade of Shadowvar, of Tolthantor, which is Return Netheril. If you're familiar with 3rd edition and probably even 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons, you probably remember Netheril, the Shadowkai, and such. So we also have our main characters, though, which is Fina, who is a werewolf, a priestess of Saloon. She is from Archwood, which you will read about if you already have read about in the Sembia series Black Wolf by Dave Gross, which is probably why Dave Gross is one of the co-authors here. But she has newly and recently returned to Yon because Dahana requested her to return, Dahana being the High Priestess again. Then we also have Kef, who is the son of wizard parents, and all his siblings are wizards, but he feels like an outsider because he is not, and so he falls into some relations with the Sharan cultist. Then we have, again, Variance, who is a shade of Return Netheril, Shade Enclave, recently returned to Faerun. She is a priestess of Shar, and again, the Dark Sister Saloon. She is specifically looking for this sort of scripture as well, but it's more of a magical artifact that will give an advantage to Shar, called Leaves of One Night. This is essentially a dark fantasy novel. The pacing is really good. It's got a great use of deflection. You think it's going to go one way, and your expectations are satisfyingly played with. And a lot of bad stuff happens, and it's a little disturbing at times, right? This is dark fantasy. And a lot of the best dark fantasy I've read has actually taken place in Sembia, actually before. So this actually, besides Fina being a character in Black Wolf, which this acts as sort of a sequel to. If you like the idea of a werewolf priestess, maybe go read Black Wolf by Dave Gross. But this is also a sort of a prequel to the Twilight War trilogy by Paul S. Kemp, which is part of the Erebus Chaos saga, and one of my favorite series that I've ever read. It's part of kind of a sequel to the Sembia series, since Black Wolf was part of that as well. But you don't need to read either of those. This acts as a standalone, and it works as a standalone. But again, if you want this idea of Shar and Sembia, then maybe you read the Twilight War trilogy afterwards by Paul S. Kemp. It doesn't have the same characters. It takes place further south in Sembia, and it goes a lot more epic in scale. If you want a good prequel, read about Fina, the werewolf priestess of Saloon in Black Wolf, where she is not the main character, actually. Someone from the city of Selgant is a noble there. But it has a lot of werewolves, so if you like that idea, maybe go and read that. But again, you can start here. You could start the Forgotten Realms perfectly fine with Mistress of the Night, 2004 novel by Don Bassingthwaite and Dave Gross. Now, I think it might be a little difficult to get your hands on these copies, actually, because they seem somewhat rare. But I'm pretty sure all of, at least Forgotten Realms, maybe not every single D&D book out there, because I don't think the Greyhawk ones are, sadly, are available digitally. So, but these are my quick thoughts on Mistress of the Night. It was great fun, and this is a big reason why I'm a fan of the Forgotten Realms, because I can read a book like this, and I can just get immersed in the Forgotten Realms, especially in a place where I think I've only read one novel that takes place in Yon, and it was only a small part. So it was fun to explore.